we've got this French Chateau, which is just down the road from where I live, and I'm going to have a go at painting this. So I like putting the paint in these jars because I can put out way too much paint, and then when I don't use it all, I just scoop it back in there. So it's nothing worse than not having enough paint to do the job. Royal blue for the sky. Obviously, I'll need to add a bit of white to that. So 12 inches by 16 inches on canvas. This has been toned with acrylic gesso, a touch of burnt umber to give it that nice orange, sort of browny orange. And I like painting on a toned surface because if I leave any of this toned surface to come through, it's going to unify the painting, and it looks better than white canvas coming through. So I've done my drawing, which I used a white pencil, just a Conte crayon, a white crayon. Which is quite good because it's easy to remove. I find charcoal can sort of muddy the paint a little bit, so that works better. So let's get started. I think my plan is to paint the chateau and then I'll paint the sky around here because I want some nice sharp edges on here. Because I think for me the painting is about these rooftops here, and everything else can be sort of lost. So I shall just mix a nice warm dark for here, and as ever I'll start with fairly thin paint and then I'll get thicker with paint as I go. And I'll try and use directional marks to describe the form of this chateau. And it's actually got a bit of blue you can see down here. At a quick glance it may just all look one colour, that rooftop there, but we've got some cool blues down here and a nice dark red at the top there. I tend to have a few brushes on the go I'm using for individual colours. Got some rain now. Hopefully you can't hear that on the. Got a noise cancelling microphone. Hopefully that's working okay, and we're not going to be interrupted by the rain. So got to be careful when you paint your lighter tones here because you may be influenced that you might think that's not light enough. But if that was white canvas, it'd look really, it would just completely change how it looks. So just do a little test. If you've got a laminated photo, you can physically put the paint on. And I want this to be a loose painting. It's all very tight at the moment, but as I go, I will loosen things up a little bit. And I'll do that by being a bit braver with the paint. Just lay it on and leave it like that. So that's the first one done. This one's quite easy because it's just dark. That gives us a nice bit of connection if I connect those two up. And I'm just using the Zion Crimson, a bit of burnt umber and the blue to create that dark. But I'll put the little bits that stick up on at the end after I've done the sky. I'll be quite careful with this part because this is the main part really, the chateau rooftops for me. Obviously we'll all look at this scene and take, feel differently about it to what inspires us to want to paint it. But you don't normally see rooftops like this, so that's quite interesting. So back in with that blue down here. And obviously these are a round shape, so it does get lighter over this side. So we've got the dark side and the light side there. So that was one of my biggest fear doing these live streams, that I'd have an internet problem. But hopefully it didn't cause you any issues. And if you've missed this one, obviously the replay is what you're watching now, which will be the same, obviously. But it's always nice if you can make it to the live streams. It's nice to be able to have questions as I'm going, but not a problem if you just watch the replay. So it will all come together when I get that sky on and you know, get it all covered. But just got to be careful with this part here, because you know this needs to look good. The rooftop here, and I can probably get away with quite a bit elsewhere. So making sure I get the right tonal values, or as close as I can guess them, but not overly worried about the color too much. Got dark there, that comes down there. Keep those brushes separate. Well, it's always good to have plenty of brushes on the go, because you know I might need to go back to those colors. So let's have a look at the this. Assume it's a chimney pot there, maybe. So I'll start with, it looks like a grey, so I've just mixed green. So let's get rid of that white, adding some red, bit of white. So I've got grey. Good start, but slightly warmer. Something like that. What I did, I printed a black and white photo. It's actually on an app called Notanizer. I do this for watercolor quite often. I'll share this picture on Patreon. But what I quite like to do this is it helps me to sort of see the scene as a whole scene here, that in the reference everything's all divided up into shapes. We've got that shape there, shape in the middle, shape there, but what I want to do is paint it as a whole, so it kind of looks like this, you know, that so I'll be looking to paint one shape into the next shape and so on. So you know, we can all just copy this photo as is, but the challenge is to make it interesting and have a sense of, like I say, wholeness to it. Right. So it's quite blue over this side here. Again, it's going to be dark down this side. Drew it a little bit leaning Tower of Pisa, so I'll straighten it up a little bit. It's going to get lighter as it comes over this side. Those little bits of detail in, which is just a dark. And if you think in terms of, you know, what's light, what's dark, you know, you'll find painting is much easier. But like I say, I try to make it as least stressful as possible. And if you just break it down into simple tasks, the drawing, you know, use a proportional divider if you're, you know, not comfortable to do it freehand, or trace, or whatever you want to do, or you know, practice your drawing so you get comfortable doing it freehand. Try and take out the stress of painting, because it should be fun. But someone asked a question about, how to address the fear of failure. It's a difficult one, that one, because obviously we all have different reasons for feeling like that. But for me, I'm quite accepted that not every painting is going to be a success. But if it does fail, I'll try and figure out why. Why didn't it work? Or quite often I'll look to some master studies, that Sargent painting or Seago, something like that, the artists that I like, and then look at how did they manage, the problem that I had. But painting is no different than any other skill. You're not going to master it straight away. If you were learning to play the piano, you're not going to expect to be playing a concert in your first week or first few years. It's going to take years and years of practice, and painting is no different, but for some reason we give ourselves a real hard time. So just sort of changing the colour slightly, just try and get that texture of the chateau. And as I sort of said, to try and make the scene a whole, I'll just paint into that, there, create connection. What I don't want is a shape here, shape here, shape here, shape here. It's got to be one shape. And that's how I paint my watercolors as well. I try to give them a sense of wholeness. So let's go a little bit darker here and maybe use directional marks. Darker in there. More that grey. But so that the tonal value is what's important. More blue, I think. A bit too green that was. Red. And you put some of that colour into there as well. More purple. We've got some darks down the bottom here where it looks like it's crumbling away. That dark will work well with that wall, which will have a little highlight on there. But it might not be as dark as that, so let's just grey that off a little bit. Again, don't want really hard edges here because I don't want the detract away from here. So just soften that a little bit. Dark edges in there. But stick with the plan, I think, to try and get the whole thing covered before I start worrying about the details. It's definitely lighter on this one. It's perhaps getting a little bit more light. Right, so that's a little bit lighter. It looks, like I say, that the photo printed out very differently to what's on there, so I think I'm better off to use the tablet here to paint from. But you could use those colours, you just get a very different painting. The thing with painting from photos, it's you're reliant on how good the photo is. Which well, I don't mind using those AI images. I need to find a decent AI editor really, because the one I had wasn't particularly great. But it might be that it's still fairly in its infancy really, that I think there are some better ones and some better than others. I had a good comment today that someone said on the demo I did with using an AI reference that you're a good painter, but shame on you for using AI. But, sure, somebody was told that years in 18 something when photography was invented, and they used a photo to paint from. But they were probably told, shame on you for using a photograph as a reference. So it's just new technology, and some people are a bit slower to come around to it, I think. But it's here to stay, that's for sure. So it's starting to take shape. Light on this side, so yellow ochre, touch of blue, just to, we don't want it to be too bright, we want it to look realistic. Come over with some highlights on there anyway. A little bit brighter than that. Do with using a bigger brush really, but like that. And then it gets darker in there, but they're quite warm now. The colours have gone from being very cool blue to warm colours over this side now. Still fairly dark. Brush is useless. Warmth in there, so we need a fairly crisp edge down there. Too pink. Let's just add a bit of yellow in there just to be needs desaturating. It's a bit too bright. We can do a bit of blue grey mix there. Let's just get that into there. Another brush, it's a clean one. Let's go for trying to make this light on the side of the chateau. Use some of the cadmium yellow, a bit brighter. Okay. Conscious that I want it to look painterly, so start being a little bit less neat with these marks. Just to blend into there. There we go with the sky. Have a break from the chateau. Big brush, so we're covering a big area. So that's the blue straight from the tube, which should just be too blue. So I'll add a bit of white into there. That's quite good. I get lighter towards the bottom. That can help you to loosen up, you know, if you mix on the actual canvas rather than on your palette and then put the color on. But will give you these loose marks. Managed to pull a load of purple from there for some reason. Quite a few people have commented that you know, they're watching these videos because they want to loosen up. You know, that I've seen some of your paintings that they're very high standard, um, but they're, you know, quite tight. You know, I know where you're coming from. But you know, someone sort of said that they really struggle to fight that urge to fiddle or noodle, I think they used the word, with their paintings. So I know what you mean. I've been there. But I found that, you know, the paintings I had done, which were, you know, almost sort of photographic, really, that they were just lifeless. You know, that, all this sort of brushwork is much more interesting. You know, it doesn't look as accurate, but it's a lot more interesting. But it's actually, I think, easier to paint tight than it is loose, as I'm sure a lot of you are finding that out. So this is where I want to take care with a nice crisp edge there. That brush. So I think to paint loose as well, it's a case of your edges, you know, where you want your sharp edges, where you want your lost edges, how to connect up shapes. I find the bristle brushes really help to paint loose as well. The synthetics are just a bit too, leave a mark that's too neat and tidy. It's quite difficult to be tidy with these bristle brushes sometimes. So just painting around there, but there's quite a lot of that orange coming through there. But I don't mind that because it's going to be throughout the painting, so it will unify the painting. Chimney. So instantly that brings this scene to life. So it's lighter down here. Into those trees. These look very messy, these marks in the sky here, but you can see, you know, if I just painted that, it's just one solid shape, how boring that would look. So at the time when you're putting them there, you think, well, I can't leave that mark, it looks awful, but you know, really at the end, got to judge it at the end. You know, that's, I suppose, the challenge you could do is to paint with a view to paint loose, leave marks that are just, you know, really uncomfortable for you to leave, but just stick with it right to the end of the painting and see what does it look like. Down into those trays, top of there. So let's have a go with the background. I think we'll go for getting the whole thing covered, and then I can then come in and put some detail and so on. Let's have a look at this chateau here, or whatever that is. It's a little building. So it's quite blue on this side. So we've got chimney pot. Blue there looks quite good. And it does help to have an accurate drawing that it's easy to get it wrong, the drawing. So find a way that suits you. You know, don't worry about what people say is cheating or whatever else. You know, what suits you. If tracing is what suits you, do that. You know, if spending hours learning to draw is more your thing, do that. But don't worry what other people think. Do whatever is the best for you. And I do a mixture of all of it. Sometimes I'll trace, sometimes I'll draw it freehand. With the mess of that one. Let's blend that there, but I don't want it to compete with the main one, so it might be okay. Just needs a bit of colour in that rooftop there. Bit of warmth. That's what I mean by those loose marks like that. Just leave it. Nice big blob of that warm light hitting the side of the chateau or that building. But again, it won't look right until I put the dark next to it. That brush being light. I end up with all the brushes ended up with a muddy grey on them in the end, but warm that up a little bit. And that's what the sort of questions I ask myself. Does it need to be warmer, cooler? It takes a little bit of a while to get into painting. That I'm painting a lot looser now than I was when I first started this painting. You get into the rhythm of it. Obviously, I was a bit stressed with all the hassles I was having with the internet, but relaxing a bit now. And so you've got to set yourself up for the right environment for painting. That it's no good if you are stressed. You know, if you're worrying about how, you know, what the painting's going to look like in the end, is it going to work, and so on, you probably will struggle to get the result you're after. And just paint for the pure enjoyment. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, you know, get it on the next one. If you paint enough, you'll eventually get some good ones. But if you're constantly, obviously, not having success, you've got to look at why. You know, and most likely it's down to, you know, perhaps, you know, not getting the right tonal values, you know, which can be easily addressed. You know, there's methods you can do to sort that little issue out. And that's the wall. The brush for the grass area. Let's try those two together. What does that do? The yellow ochre makes quite nice natural looking greens. Maybe a bit of yellow in there as well. Definitely mixing on the canvas can free you up, but you know, if you're a beginner, maybe it might be a bit tricky. But try it, see what happens. Obviously, still got to know how much of that yellow ochre to put on and how much of that blue to put on top of it to mix on there. That, you know, if you get it wrong, you know, you could end up making more work for yourself. So it could be easier to mix on your palette first if you're a beginner, but as you get more and more experienced, you'll be able to do that. So it's all these loose marks going off in all sorts of directions. And you know, when I've done master studies of Johnson Sargent and so on, that's what I noticed with his work. You know, his brushes going off in all sorts of directions and, you know, leaving, you know, marks like that. So that's my grass area. So let's get some. We've got a rooftop there, so let's get that house in there. I've actually painted this scene on location. I made some little painting boxes that I sold with a palette with the box. It was quite interesting. That I think I have shown on one of those on a video. That it's basically just two bits of plyboard. One side I paint on, and one side I use as a palette. And then I've actually sold quite a few of them when I was selling paintings. I still am selling paintings, but not necessarily going out my way to do it. But it's quite a novel idea. And I suppose I say, not stressing yourself painting. I suppose it all depends on the reasons for your painting in the first place. That I used to find a little bit stressful painting when I was, painting to sell to earn a living. I did that for quite a few years, but because obviously you're always worried: is this painting going to sell? Should I be painting this subject? What's popular at the moment? So I definitely enjoy doing videos more, although still have same sort of worries, that is this going to be popular on YouTube? Because obviously it's good to get a little bit of ad revenue, although I wouldn't necessarily rely on that. Patreon is a lot more reliable, so I do appreciate your support. So I'm going to get these darks in first. Put that dark next to that light, and it will just make the side of that pop. Over the top with some lighter areas. Quite thin with the paint. Try not to pull that sky colour down into this. So find the ultramarine blue, a bit of yellow ochre, makes a nice sort of dark green. I see more blue in there. There is a house or building off there in the distance, but I'm going to leave that out. Not necessary. Tree there. I've got an open day next, not this Saturday, Saturday after. Once a year I open my studio to the locals. If they're interested to come and have a see what I've been painting. But, I've done a few expos this year, but I don't think I'm going to do many next year because it takes up a lot of time, and I think my time is better off spent making videos. But, it's good to have a break from that, and maybe I'll go back to doing exhibiting again in the future. But also I have my website, which we put pictures on there occasionally. But like I say, if you're ever interested in buying a painting, just send me a message. Special price for patrons. So slightly lighter green over there. And just rolling that brush about just to create the illusion of, that could be a tree. Same there. And these aren't trees I'm painting, these are just blobs of paint. Just leaving a bit to the imagination. Lighter green, which will give that illusion of sunlight off in the distance. it's always trying to create that illusion of light for me with painting. It's quite nice. Let's just lay some of that on there. And then we got these interesting trees there. Just gives us a chance for some verticals. It's got to ask yourself, now is this painting about trees in the background? No, so they only just need to be suggested. And that's close enough. What we need. That one's got a few highlights on that one. Slightly smaller brush. Let's get a few darks into the scene. The blue and the brown, and I've added a little bit of red for the dark. So the dark in that window. And put your mark on and leave it. Don't noodle with it, as they say. It's a new word, noodle. Nice dark in there. Yeah, put it on. Don't fuss with it. Nice strong dark there. There. And I'm using a round brush, but I sort of flatten it out to create a flat edge, which will work to do those eaves there. More red and yellow. Bit of that yellow ochre. The dark over here, but it's not as dark. Well, not as black. It's got more warmth in there. Just sort of pay attention to things like that. We've got windows. A few windows down that side. There's a dark something there. Wall there. You just get lost in all that lot there. More blue. Cool that down. But there's bits of detail there. Trusty stick to put those bits of detail on the top of the rooftops. Nicely loaded up brush. Again, they've got to be done confidently, no messing about with them. So we're going off in the camper van next week. So I'm not sure what day next week's live stream will be on. Might even be able to do a live stream out and about, depending on internet signal. We're heading towards the Languedoc region. Let's not get carried away with detail, but there's a bit of a ledge there. Blue. So I'll be taking oil paints with me. I'll take watercolour, obviously, as well. And maybe do a bit of sketching. Which always recharges my batteries going out and about in the camper van, painting out on location. Last time we went out a month ago or so, it was just too hot, unfortunately. So, but temperature is a bit more sensible now. So that's enough detail on there. Got the canvas covered pretty much. We just now need to try and make it pop now, and quite happy with the way this is all connected up. That's working okay. But I think we need some more warmth on here, perhaps a little bit darker there. Some more warmth on there. I missed the little bit on that one, didn't I? Nice big blob of white, bit of yellow, red. Right. Really start to load that paint on now, so this is what makes your paintings look loose, thick paint like that. Highlight in there, light on that wall. Down that wall, along the edge. Light on there. Let's go a bit more red, more fiery red, orange colour, slightly warmer. Break that up a little bit too white, I think. Just drag that brush down. Red, touch of yellow ochre. Slightly more saturated colour. Just painting it into that one there. Just almost sort of just laying the paint on over the top of it. That brush. Let's go for some of this blue. Touch of red. So that's the royal blue, I think that's called. Strong darks in there. This is obviously receiving not a lot of light on that side. In there as well, it's not getting a lot of light. blob of red to warm it up. Yeah, maybe slightly more tonal contrast in there. Dragging that brush on there, that this is a hundreds of years old building, lots of texture on that building, and I'm just dragging it, just loading the brush up, and almost just let it fall down the side there, and just drag that paint across there. Whatever mark is left, that's the mark. Fiddling around with it too much, and in with that red, a bit darker there. Yeah, cool. I've lost that shape there a little bit. Let's just sort that out. So that needs to come in there. It's fine, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think more blue over this side as well. Again, we want to create illusion of texture on this wall. So thick paint, using red, blue, bit of brown, bit that dark. It's definitely darker here. Bit of the royal blue. Mixing on the palette, on the canvas. This is in shade, that part of the roof. So again, introduce a bit of that blue. Light on there, I think a bit of light there. To be fiddling too much. I'm just going to use this round, which is a bit all over the place, and just flick up a few bits of long grass there. Something in the foreground. Yeah, may not need to put it in, but it does actually break up that shape there a little bit if we put that little bush in there. There's a couple of darker areas on here. This just breaks up that mess. Lost my windows. Let's put those back in. So that's kind of as far as I can go with that, really. But I think probably would let that dry, or let it, leave it for a week or so, and then maybe come back to it and decide whether it needs anything else. Oh, maybe a taller tree now because of that slightly darker tree there, I think. So again, apologies for the mess up with the live stream times, but we'll look into fibre optic maybe if Starlink is going to let me down. So up to this point, it's been really good. Some of that blue there. Thinking maybe just a little bit of light along the bottom here. Better than that. Light. Maybe just a bit of, let's get a bit more warmth on there, I think. Let's just go for red, yellow, more yellow. Nice loaded up brush. Test what that colour like. A bit nicer. I think I'll leave it there. So there we go, Sarze in the frame. Quite pleased with it. That I wanted the turrets on the Chateau to really stand out, and they do. And I quite like the brushwork in it. So we'll call that one a success, hopefully. So let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for being on Patreon. Big welcome to new members. Appreciate all your support. If you're watching this on YouTube, give me a thumbs up and a like. Same thing. A comment as well is always appreciated. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.